Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of Spectre. I am your host, Hobbs182. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. The idea for upcoming episodes is to discuss an entry in the series and basically my history with it. But this episode is different because I'm going to be talking about the Resident Evil 2 remake, which won't be out until, within a couple of months. So, I don't want to call it a reaction podcast or episode, whatever. But basically my history with the history of the remake of the Resident Evil 2 remake. So I was a bit hesitant the first time I saw it. I remember Capcom posting that video and the We Do It t-shirt. And yeah, as a longtime fan of, especially Resident Evil 2, in a way it is exciting to see your favorite title being remade. But it's funny because when the remake of 1 came out, I was excited and it was good. It did not disappoint. But honestly, 1 is not special to me. 2 is, because it was the first one I played. But seeing that they were going to do it actually made me nervous because once this game comes out, for the Resident Evil 2 that I grew up with and I came with into the series, that was going to be, erased from the timeline. So, after the We Do It, on Twitter, you see a lot of, they're behind schedule, everything's going fine, it's on schedule, whatever. But this year, having passed the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil 2, it was a missed opportunity. They could have, would have been awesome if it would have released that month, like maybe a week or a few days before the anniversary. Obviously, making games is not easy, and I'm sure they have like 1,000 people on it. But it was kind of a bummer that no RE2 news was out for the anniversary. But E3 2018 came, and a lot of my buddies at work were very excited for a ton of titles coming out. The Last of Us 2. Which other game? Death Stranding. Everybody was excited for that, but honestly, I didn't care. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to hear Resident Evil news. And it's funny because actually that day I was working late and I was talking to one of my buddies, and he said, if I was, keeping up to date with the Sony press conference, and I said, yeah, and I told him, watch. I'm going to be here, working and, keeping an eye on the stream. And I bet you the second I leave, and I left late, I think it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock that night. I told him the second I leave, I'm going to miss something. And of course, said and done. I leave, I head out to the bus. I check Twitter on my phone and boom, there it was. So the first trailer, the Rat POV, I do understand why they did it. Obviously, the rats spread the infection, right, in Raccoon City. And if for anybody who's played Outbreak, that's the intro to the first Outbreak. But, it was underwhelming. Once I saw the PS1 controller, I knew it was a Resident Evil 2 trailer. And I'm not sure about anybody else, but what shocked me was Leon's appearance. It has grown on me. For example, my background on the lock screen on my computer is that promo shot of Leon in the rain with the RPD in the background. But obviously you could tell it was a scanned person, right? Photogrammetry, whatever. And I kind of felt that they were going to go that route. There was a lot of mumblings before that. They wanted to make this Resident Evil the most realistic, whatever. And that's fine. It's a chance for Capcom to flex their muscle, to show their tech. But, for example, if you compare this Leon to Resident Evil 4 Leon, obviously it's night and day. It's like Chris in RE5 and RE6. And then, spoiler at the end of RE7. Well, again, we think that's Chris, right? As far as we know, it's Chris. But same deal, you could tell it's a person. The character that does look really good is Marvin Branagh. I kind of hope he does have a bigger role. But I did like the second trailer more. It showed a story, it showed a little bit of gameplay. It was sort of what I imagined in my head. And I remember when Capcom said that they were going to go third person over the shoulder. At first I was a bit hesitant. Yeah, I mean, RE4 was great. RE5 and 6 were, a bit lukewarm, personally. But at first, I kind of wish they would have gone with the static camera, tank controls. But after seeing the demo, that's when I got into it. But the first demo I saw sucked because whoever was playing it was just running along the walls and they wouldn't stop to take in the environment. Now I do understand now that it was a time demo. I think it was like 20 minutes. But I mean, whoever played it, what was it, Game Vault or some website? It would have been nice if instead of rushing to get that out, if they would have actually maybe a few hours before, if they would have done a presser where it was the first time playing it and maybe they played it that way, but then maybe the light bulb would have turned on and somebody responsible for the content stream, whatever, would have said, hey, you know what, if we played it now, let's get the atmosphere in there, let's really show the game off. That would have been cool. Now there is a second video like that one was great. That's officially when the hype train started for me. So a couple cool things I saw was for example, the RPD is different right away the second you walk in, but I do like how it's a lot of areas are basically in the dark, and just like the Resident Evil 1 remake, the areas are there but they're different, and there's also new areas being added onto that. So I really think that's cool. But it's funny, like I mentioned in the first in episode 0 of Spectre, again, RE2, first game that got me into the series, and very special for my wife and me because that's how we met. But we are a bit conflicted with Leon and Claire's appearance. It's just the face, because I mean, you could tell right away that it's a person on a character, right? Which is funny because in a lot of games, like for example the remake, Jill is based off of somebody, but it doesn't look weird where the face is actually one-to-one. And it's funny because like in Death Stranding, it's Norman Reedus, but he looks fine, it looks okay, but there are some times where it kind of takes you out of it. It might be the actor. Well, for example, like Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty, like he does look good, but for example, like JFK looked a little bit weird. So I don't know, maybe it's the person's physical appearance, but that is one thing that's a bit weird. I actually showed my wife the official cover art, and it did take her out of it. She's 95% excited for the game because it's RE2, it's being remade, it looks great, but it's just that for her, the faces. For me, a bit, it does seem like there are a few promo shots where it's like maybe like an early model where it's like the face is one-to-one to the actor, but then in some shots it looks good. We're like, okay, we used an actual person as a base, but we touched it up a bit, made it look gamey and not like creepy VR shit. But here's hoping that that is the case, that that will be worked on, and it won't take us out of the experience, right? So I basically made a wish list of things that I think would be cool, or things that maybe could be done. So starting from the beginning, a lot of people, if a lot of people remember, Leon's disc on the PS1 was labeled as disc 1, and Claire's disc was labeled as disc 2. So basically you have Leon A and Claire B, but according to Capcom, that's not the official storyline. The official storyline is Claire A, Leon B. So I'm kind of hoping this time it's maybe the story is 50-50, but for example, Claire did carry a lot of weight in the original Resident Evil 2 because she's Chris's sister and she's going to the city to look for him, and Leon's basically a rookie. But I kind of feel what they might do this time is, okay, since the game is based in the RPD, and since Leon, it's his first day on the job, maybe they'll shift their focus over to Leon and breathe more into that story, and Claire could be, an equal part of the story. Like, again, like I said, 50-50. It won't be like 70-30 or whatever. But yeah, I kind of feel like that might happen where Leon is the main character and Claire joins him. So, that's something to think about. Maybe that could happen. There are some screenshots that suggest that they do meet outside instead of inside. Well, I mean, after the car crash. Plus, who knows if there will be a car crash this time, because I think one thing that would be cool is if they focus, if, a large chunk of the game, well, at least in the beginning, takes part in the Raccoon City streets. Because, we all know they meet, they crash, the truck driver crashes into them, separating them, and one character goes into the front and one character goes into the back of the RPD. But maybe, who knows, maybe that's the way it does start, maybe it doesn't. But I do remember, what was it, on an episode of the Project Umbrella podcast, they were talking about Resident Evil 2 and 3, and somebody, I think it was Rombi. Was it Rombi? I could swear it was Rombi. I hope I got it right. If not Rombi, I'm sorry, man. But this person said that their dream game was basically combining Resident Evil 2 and 3 to get like the full Raccoon City story. So, yeah, that would be cool. But maybe they could sort of do that here, where a lot of the first areas are the streets. Maybe, again, Leon being a rookie, maybe he's freaking out. Maybe you see some crazy stuff, sort of how the Leon's intro in RE6 in Tall Oaks. There were some very good set pieces there. Maybe not too flashy, but maybe something sort of like the intro to the remake of Dawn of the Dead, where something happens in a confined space, then you go out to the streets and it's fucking chaos, like basically like a scope like that, right? I think that would be pretty cool. So again, it would be nice if it's an uphill climb to get to the RPD, and then once you finally make it there, yeah, in a way you'll feel safe, you'll feel accomplished, but as a fan, what's waiting for you in there. That like that's where the game really starts, right? So it could just be this gauntlet of adversity where each time you make it to the next area in the game, it's like a major milestone, like, oh fuck, I made it. Okay, cool, let me sit down and regroup. That would be cool. One thing that I would like to see them explore as well is a little bit more of Brian Irons, the chief police. So for anybody who doesn't know about RE2, Brian Irons basically, has a history of sexual assault, but, he managed to pull that under the rug, and he's also, I don't want to say, no, he's not a pedophile, or shit, at least not that I could remember, but, I mean, this guy's fucked up. Like, this guy, he's like Dexter, but, I mean, Dexter has a code. This guy just does it for sport because he likes it. Taxidermy and killing people. Like, but, I mean, you could get sort of into like a, almost like a, serial killer-ish vibe, but basically what we know of Brian Irons right now is like, oh man, this guy's fucked up. But I think Capcom could do something really cool where it's like really disturbing. I mean, they don't have to show disturbing shit, but if they could get it just right, where it's like, oh man, like that guy scares you just looking at him. Like, for example, like the lady, what was her name? What the fuck was her name? The lady in the mist, that she starts saying that, oh my god, it's God and it's Judgment Day. Miss Carmody, or I don't know what her fucking name was, but someone like that. Like, you see him and, oh man, just the sight of him is like, oh man, this person's gonna do something. So I think there's an awesome opportunity there to really make Brian Irons like probably like the scariest Resident Evil character that basically doesn't have powers, right? Like Wesker, or well, even to an extent Spencer, right? I mean, Spencer has money, but in a way that is a sort of power, right? I mean, look at Batman. Another thing that would be cool is the underground. Maybe, again, maybe bigger areas. What's funny though, it depends which way they go, because it's funny in Resident Evil, well, for example, in 1 you have the mansion, and in 2 you have the RPD, but beneath both you have underground cavernous areas, right? And even in RE2 they go to the extent where there's actually a fucking trolley, whatever, that will take you somewhere else that is obviously far away, and it's across a fucking black hole basically underground. So, that could be, I think they might do that, but again, they could make it really, really freaky in, especially in scope. And I mean, who knows what's down there. The marshalling yard as well, that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to, because that's actually one of my favorite areas from the game. And that's actually my favorite theme from the whole series, the marshalling yard theme. I think, again, it's a very small space that we see in the game, but you sort of get a background of the city and you get a sense of scale as well. Like, oh man, I just traversed all that to get here. And then, the first time you play RE2 and you get on that platform, and then you see the thing take you down and you just see how deep it goes. And, again, scale, like, oh shit, how big is this? How big is Umbrella's influence, their reach, and their fucking money? Like, that would be cool as well. Hopefully, again, it's bigger and it's definitely playable, because what we saw was good. And I know there's a lot of debate in RE0 of that same area being, because there's an area just like it. And, there's a lot of debate of it is an homage to RE2, like a wink, or no, it's the same area. There are, shit, man, I'll put a link to it because this thing is worth reading. There's a thread on Project Umbrella of that whole theory of, is that area that looks like RE2 that exists in RE0, is that really, the same area or not? So, that would be cool as well. But the Umbrella Lab as well at the end, that thing did have scale in RE2. And it's funny, obviously my favorite parts of a Resident Evil game is the final area. Well, in most of them, for example, 0, the original first Resident Evil, the remake, 2, 3, the Dead Factory is cool, but I'm really fond of Umbrella Labs. Let's see, in 4, I think the castle was probably my favorite area. In 5, shit, what would be my favorite area in 5? I want to say maybe the ruins. In 6, honestly, 6 is a mess. I honestly have to go through it again. I did play it once with my wife and we beat it when it first came out. But I'll queue that up for the stream because I need a refresh on that. That's the only modern Resident Evil, or actually, yeah, Resident Evil period that I have only played once, but did beat. It would be cool to see new characters, like in the remake, like for example, Lisa. So in the remake, Lisa Trevor, obviously she didn't exist, and the areas where you find her didn't exist in the original Resident Evil. But the way they brought her in was great, and it did move the story forward. So I'm kind of hoping maybe they'll do the same thing here. It could be, again, with an established character. It could be like Brian Irons, maybe he knows more, maybe his role in the whole thing is more important. Maybe there's a new character. Maybe Marvin is with you longer in the game and then eventually turns, instead of turning basically instantly as he did in the original Resident Evil 2. Hunk and Tofu, bringing them back in. I kind of see Tofu more as obviously as a minigame character, the mercenaries for sure, but I think maybe they could do something with Hunk where his actions directly affect gameplay. So for example, in RE2, yeah, he had a minigame and he did something important, right? He took the G virus and gave it to Umbrella. So that did move the story forward, but maybe here there's more of him behind the scenes, even as well with Ada. Like maybe they could be working together already. Maybe they're rivals. We know Hunk is die hard Umbrella. So I would say those three. I think that's a perfect trinity: Hunk, Irons, and Ada. What those three do in the story, I think there's a lot of probability there of their involvement being even bigger than we know, and definitely maybe in a way even grounding the story more, because I would say 5 and 6 that get a little bit fantastical. I mean 5, Chris punching a boulder. I mean, he's jacked, but I mean, is he that jacked? So, that's a little bit fantastical. And then Leon, well, actually all the characters in Resident Evil 6, I mean, Resident Evil 6 seemed like somebody from Capcom broke into Michael Bay's office and just took like his notebook ideas for his movies, right? Explosions everywhere and some very fantastical stuff. But I kind of feel with this version of RE2, they could definitely make it more grounded and more visceral as well. Almost like the first two Nolan Batmans, like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Like, yeah, there's an element of the fantastic, but it looks legit, it looks real. So let's see what else is on my list. Oh shit, that's basically it. I just burned through it. Yeah, here's hoping. It's gonna be very, 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 very bittersweet once Resident Evil 2 comes out, because on the stream I'm gonna go through the series, but I mean, I've played 2 so many times. I know the game inside and out, maps, enemy locations, whatever. And I've played that game so many times. That is hands down the one title in the series that I have played. Honestly, it has to be over 100 times. It has to, across PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation Network, on my PSP. It will be bittersweet. I'm actually thinking of scheduling. So on the stream I did Claire A. So now we need to do Leon B. But I think I'm gonna schedule that for November, because December coming up in a year, people go on vacation, family time, of course, very important. But for me, that will be on that stream. That will be the last time I play the original Resident Evil 2, because come January 25th, we'll be playing Resident Evil 2, the new one. That one won't be online though, because again, like, it's special to my wife and myself. We will play that offline and fully get into it, fully enjoy it, and whatever Capcom does, we'll be right there with them, because it's funny, thinking about it, gathering all the information for the site, putting it together, all that jazz. It really made me, as a fan, appreciate the existence of the series. Why? Because, for example, there are a lot of horror series that came out, as a direct answer to Resident Evil, right? I mean, the biggest one being Silent Hill. And I feel bad for the Silent Hill community, because I mean, as far as they know, their series is dead and gone. And us as Resident Evil 2 fans, we're lucky where we do keep getting titles. Yes, some are big turds. I mean, Raccoon City, right? Umbrella Corps. I mean, but then again, it could be worse. It honestly could be worse. And what's the worst thing? Not getting anything. So, and it's not easy, carrying a series for, plus 20 years, 21, 22 titles. It seems like they have learned from their ways, especially with the RE7. I would say, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 1, original, surprise to all. Resident Evil 2 really set a high point for the series. After that, the remake, then RE4, and now RE7, and hopefully this RE2 could achieve that success as well. So here's hoping it's an awesome game. Here's hoping it's it does justice to the original, and hell, maybe even like 4, bring old and new fans to the series, so we could keep carrying on the legacy, right? But yeah, here's hoping it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be good, and I'm sure all the fans will be there in January. So yeah, well, that's it, guys, for this episode, for episode 1 of Spectre. A little bit shorter, because it's mostly thoughts, hopes, and dreams instead of an analysis or whatever. But yeah, guys, so I'm sure we're all as equally excited. So fortunately the day will come, and we're ready, and we're here. And Capcom surprised us do your best, and we cannot wait to set foot in Raccoon City again. All right, guys, well, that's it for tonight. Thanks a lot. I'll see you guys next time.